Hello guys and welcome back, all 2,100 members of this channel. Today, another quick episode. I'm going to try and make this like 2-3 minutes. Esteban Ocon has been announced that he is getting kicked from Alpine. Do you know, although this is, I guess, recent or sudden news, we all predicted he was going to lose his seat at the end of the season. It's just that obviously after the Monaco Grand Prix, I'm sure they hurried things along to make sure it was out. Okay, this guy is definitely out. He released a statement. I posted on the community tab. I'm not going to read the whole statement. It was like 6 pages long. But he was talking about, the ferocity of F1 and how, sometimes the criticism can be too much. Personally, my opinion, you may not agree with it, but, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. As long as you're not, going after his family or his friends or saying that, personal attacks, saying that he's this or he's this type of person. As long as you're purely critiquing the driving aspects and the Formula One aspect of it, I think it's all fair game. It's all fair game. At the end of the day, Esteban Ocon has been in way too many of these incidents to be acting a bit brand new. I did get the feeling that they probably couldn't give him a race ban for Canada. So that's the reason that they decided, the next best thing in terms of retaliation for what Esteban did. Obviously, Bruno Famine was saying that, there needs to be consequences for this. So if they couldn't get a race ban, they could sack him on the spot. And I guess that's what they've done. We all knew he was going to get the sack. And did he deserve it? In the sense that they just didn't work as teammates, yeah. Esteban Ocon has a harsh reputation that I don't really want to add to. Obviously, everyone knows about his crashes. With basically every type of teammate he's had some form of friction with. Maybe Ricciardo is the least. Perez, definitely a lot of friction. Gasly, a lot of friction. Alonso, they went from best friends to enemies in like half a season. So he has a troubled history with teammates, and it's going to affect his time or affect his chances in terms of getting another F1 seat, especially because I'm not sure if some of you guys remember, but Esteban Ocon had to take a bit of a gap from Formula One because he didn't manage to get a seat. And when he did come back, well, I guess things just haven't changed that much. Things just haven't changed. So it's going to be really difficult for Esteban Ocon to get a seat, especially with a lot more cooperative drivers. What makes this almost kind of funny and ironic is he was about to get a race ban from his team. And then on the other side of the paddock, you have Kevin Magnussen, who might have got a race ban for being essentially an amazing teammate. So, two sides of a coin, eh? It really is like two sides of a coin. But ultimately, I think the bigger issue with Esteban is that he takes the first person you need to beat is your teammate a bit too literally. Sometimes, let's just look at Haas, for example. If in this season Haas score more points or they make a lot more progress than they did last season, and Hulkenberg outscores Magnussen, Haas aren't going to look down on Magnussen because they know about what he did to help the team push forward and to help Hulkenberg score those points. But let's say they had fewer points, but Magnussen, he shafted Hulkenberg in a couple of races. He put in some bad moves. He didn't protect his teammate when he needed to. And so the team has less points, but Magnussen has more points personally. It wouldn't actually look that good on his resume, personally. I think Magnussen is a lot more of a marketable driver, even though he hasn't been scoring that many points as Hulkenberg and ever since Hulkenberg came back, he has been outdoing Magnussen because of the driving that Magnussen's been doing in order to sacrifice and literally put it all on the line for his team. He's made himself a lot more valuable. And the same can't be said for Esteban Ocon. Any team that takes Esteban Ocon now has a potential risk of going downwards in terms of overall team performance because they may face some self-sabotage in terms of internally in that team, and that might just be a bit too much of a risk for other teams to take. Obviously, he's not going to get a contract with the big five, the top 5 teams, but in terms of the teams that are lower down, I can't see a team like a Williams getting him. I see them taking a different driver, a younger driver, maybe Kimi Antonelli or something, to a younger driver that is going to push the team forward and is going to be more of a prospect. Because I think another thing with Esteban is that we know who Esteban is. Esteban can't hide from us. Esteban's been in Formula One a long time. Every time Esteban gets a teammate, it's not even about if there's going to be friction. It's about when there's going to be friction. Fernando Alonso came back with a pretty big reputation of being a hard teammate to be around, a bit of a sore whenever he's unhappy with the car and the team. And Esteban Ocon made Fernando Alonso look like a very happy camper because Esteban Ocon was just that bad of a teammate. Overall, I think it's sad because I do like Ocon, and I do genuinely think Ocon has some good pace and some decent racecraft when he's not being overly aggressive. But sometimes he can just push a little bit too far in the wrong ways. And it happens to a lot of drivers. Like Charles pushes too far sometimes on his qualifying laps. He has some crashes that are avoidable. But Esteban pushes too far when it's to do with his teammates, and it usually causes some sort of multi-issue within the team because now both cars are out the race or both cars are compromised. And that is it's pretty high risk for very little reward, because if, let's say, Charles, for example, when Charles is doing high risk things, the payoff is that he gets pole in a car that isn't the fastest on the grid. But when you have Ocon doing high risk things, at best, your drivers have just swapped positions, which for the team doesn't really make much difference. I would be very surprised if Esteban Ocon did manage to stay in Formula One in 2025 and beyond.